Capricorns, welcome to your weekly Sidereal Astrology forecast. This is for November 21st to 27th of 2016. I'm Athen, and this channel is about using the actual constellations in the sky, known as Sidereal Astrology. If you are new to the channel, be sure to check out the link down below because the signs are different, which means your sign might be different, and you'll want to watch this for the right sign. All right, so Capricorns, this week, another impactful week in November. We're coming into it in the third quarter phase, which means a good time to initiate some steps, maybe take some actions. Basically what came to our awareness about a week ago. All right, so last Monday we had the full moon, maybe some insight, some awareness, some things we're cultivating, and now a good week to move those things forward. Now there is a lot of shifting taking place. The sun is going to be shifting into Scorpio right at the beginning of the week, suggesting this shift of focus towards what already has been a emphasized area, which is your 11th house. This is the house of your personal aspirations on one hand, your hopes, your wishes, the things you want for the future, the forward thinking things in life. And so your ruler's been in here really emphasizing the fact that it's good to be taking this stuff seriously and patiently, and it's taking time with these personal aspirations, but that can be a very positive thing, because it's going to be real and raw. But now you have the sun come in here, which is really illuminating it. So for about the next month, you've got some good focus, some good energy towards personal aspirations, towards these future things. And I think as you focus on that, you can find that prana and life force really supporting you, as well as your mind too. Mercury in the 8th does give you that good mental aptitude about all that good stuff. And I also want to mention too that with this sort of awareness, it's also getting into the deeper side of it too. The sun does rule your 8th house, emphasizing that it's a really good time to bring in the depth and the openness into what really matters and what those aspirations are truly about for you. Okay. Now, the other side to this is that it could be community related for a lot of you, especially if over the past year you've been feeling like taking more of the networking or friends or group things more seriously. Okay. And I think that's generally, for all of you Capricorns, a really good way of working with this anyways, is to see where you can build a sense of network or community, right? And taking that stuff seriously, again, building that for the long term really is the name of the game here. All right, so after that shift on Tuesday, we do have Mercury sextiling up to Jupiter. So again, positive support here for personal aspirations, maybe a bit of networking. This is a Jupiter who's coming from your 9th house, so there should be good opportunities here for you to expand your horizons still. All right, it's going to be the case for about the next year. Maybe it's the adventurous spirits such as walks or hikes or travel, but maybe internally, such as through philosophy, spirituality, higher learning. All right, these are positive forces for you. And you could find maybe on Tuesday some of that adventurousness or open-mindedness really supporting those key areas. Then on Wednesday, we have Mercury conjoining up to your ruler. So you could be feeling perhaps like there's a new chapter with inquisition and learning. Okay, a new beginning. This is a yearly cyclical conjunction, suggesting a new beginning with your mind and with communication. And could be a good day for those types of matters. But it's also, again, a new beginning with what has been cultivating with those aspirations. Okay, but maybe it's taking on a more practical approach. Maybe it has more to do with communication. Maybe there's this whole new thing or discipline that you could be implementing having to do with your work or your routine. All right, Mercury does rule your 6th house, which often emphasizes those key areas. Okay, so it's all about, of course, patience, discipline. It's a natural energy that you're used to, just Saturn, your ruler, taking things for the long term. All right, long-term gains versus short-term gains. I think having to do with those aspirations, having to do with work or routine. And then also, too, maybe even a bit of that, new chapter with the adventurous side, how you can start a new perspective, a new belief system. Again, opening those horizons really is that positive force, especially because Mercury does rule that 9th house of yours. But it's with Saturn, so it takes time, and I think it's building it in a nice grounded sort of fashion. All right, and then we have Jupiter squaring up to Pluto, which is perhaps the most important aspect this week, in fact, and that's going to go exact on Thursday. So this is, again, all helping you, I think, open those horizons. Now, it may come across as easy because it's involving Jupiter. Maybe we can feel a bit over-optimistic about it, or sometimes rest on our laurels about it. You know, that can be the over or under extreme with Jupiter. But you'll know what this is really about when you see that it's about something that's really deep. Something that's really deep, that's changing with you on a very deep level. This is Pluto in your 12th house that is, again, changing these belief systems and changing your perspective about life. You know, the 9th house is the house of the life spirit. You know, that's the adventure and all this and the life path and all the philosophy, and it expands our horizons, but in a fundamental, it's that life spirit. So your spirit for life is changing, and I think the deeper you're willing to go this week, deep with the psyche, deep with your spiritual self, deep with any fears, traumas, anxieties, all this 12th house stuff that could be preventing you from having that expansive, spirited view of life. I think, you know, having that perspective is really good with this, and willing to dive deep, willing to make some changes, because as you become aware of the fears and traumas and all this deeper stuff, you can then accept them. And once we accept them, they no longer have power over us, or they're no longer working in our subconscious. And then we're free to make change. It's the classic example of what happens when we accept. We don't care. I mean, we care about it, but we're not attached to it. And what happens when we're not attached? We're free to make the changes. We're even free to see things we didn't see before that we otherwise, you know, would have seen had we not been afraid, or had those patterns not been reoccurring in the unconscious mind. So all in all, I think just willing to dive deep, make some changes. Again, I think it's psychological. I think it's spiritual, and that could be a very positive force for your perspective on things. Jupiter also does rule your 3rd house too, so it could be maybe having to do with communication or learning or reading. You know, these are very good things, I think, to also cultivate this week, especially with Mercury over that Saturn. All right, and then as we get into the weekend around Friday, Venus does go over Pluto, again emphasizing this. And Venus in your 12th house is saying that maybe you can be enjoying a bit of psychological understanding or spiritual stuff, spiritual activities, or maybe getting some rest and relaxation, meditation, alone time. You know, this is Venus, which is bringing a positive support in all this. Venus does not mind being in the 12th house. Okay, so you do have that. And again, with this conjunction, it's suggesting a new chapter with your deep spiritual values. Okay, and in many ways, too, what's happening with all this is your self-expression is transforming and your career is transforming as a result of this. Okay, Venus rules your 5th and your 10th. So those are all key areas to be open to change. I think most fundamentally with your deep psyche and your spiritual being. But as a result, I think you'll notice it's expanding your horizons, it's helping you see possibilities, it's changing your mind. It's also helping you be more accepting. Jupiter does rule the 12th. And you'll probably notice some positive changes with your self-expression and also with that career as well. All right, so that's the going into the weekend time. Then as we get into Saturday, Mercury does trine up to Uranus, giving a bit of lifting up energy. I mean, a lot of the aspects this week are very neutral, and even squares from Jupiter come across as quite positive. So I don't think it's going to be a challenging week necessarily, at least not relatively or collectively. But yeah, this trine up to Uranus does suggest that maybe going into the weekend, there's some new ideas, some new inspiring things. Maybe the routine is going well. Maybe there's more freedom in your routine. And again, those belief systems really helping you access this freedom about it. And this could all be about what you're learning. It could be about what you're sharing, what you're exchanging. This is all the 3rd house. This is about the inquisitive side to life and the freedom that that brings when we treat life as a learning process. And of course, with that, there is always healing. And Mercury will be squaring up to Chiron, which does mean there is some healing taking place with your mind and your perspective and all this. So if you do feel some wounds going into the weekend, just know it's very natural, very normal. And I think as you do that acceptance, as you do that healing, you're going to notice it's very refreshing, very rejuvenating, and very freeing with that trine up to Uranus. All right, so Capricorn, that's the week in a nutshell. The way I would sum this up is there's definitely more of a shift into the 11th house of aspirations. All right, it's a really good week for this stuff. And making it practical, making it real, long-term. Maybe setting some new things with all of this. And maybe even, too, a bit of community, networking, friends. You know, taking that stuff seriously can be very supportive. And of course, with this Pluto squaring up to Jupiter, a lot of deep changes for all of us collectively this week. And again, we may just not do it. I mean, with Jupiter, again, we may miss the mark. We may not see it because it seems like it's just something that's easy. But if we challenge ourselves to see the real change that's occurring, which is deep, okay, that's the Pluto. And we do dive deep and we do that acceptance and that healing and that transformation I was talking about. Again, it's impacting a lot of very positive areas for you. And that's really being on the right side of the square of initiating this change. And let's not forget too, Mars is in your first house. So it is a great time for you to maybe get some physical exercise, whatever's healthy for you, reasonable for you. Goals, ambitions, drives. This is a good source of energy. Anything that's about your independence, your personal needs, being direct, going after the things you enjoy, the things you value in life, and just understanding more about who you are in many ways too. It could even be an emphasis on home and family stuff, your roots, and reflecting on things a bit. All right, so Capricorns, have a fantastic week. Thanks for watching. I'll see you all next week.